Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another Passion Charger release. This is one of their most recent releases, as we have a new prehistoric mammal in the line. Yes, we've got the Doedicurus, and I am definitely hyped about this. I love this species, definitely an exciting species that doesn't get nearly enough love, and once I knew Passion Charger was making one, I was so over the moon excited about it and knew I had to have it in my collection. So I'm really happy to now finally have it here, and not only to have it here, to have it finished to take a look at it with you guys. Of course, this is a model kit, so once it arrives, it will arrive unpainted, and of course unbuilt. You would have to build it and paint it yourself, although there are plenty of paleo artists out there that would be happy to do it for you. But this one was obviously built and painted by me. But as we start up here in the head sculpt, we can see the head sculpt looks excellent. We've got lots of really nice fine detail, really fine fur in the face. As you lead back, further closer to the neck, we see the fur start to really pick up in size and scruffiness. We've got the ears sculpted out up there. We also have the nose sculpted really nicely, and you can see the mouth down here as well. Tried to add a little bit of like a gloss coat to the nostrils as well as the mouth, just to kind of add some realism, and then of course to the eyes as well. But we can see, of course, that our Doedicurus does have that sort of armored kind of shell-like look going on here. We can see a little bit of it on the top of the head, and again, the detail is super crisp and super impressive. As you move down here into the side of the opposing side of the head, you can see the fur again, and everything looks absolutely incredible. The fine detail is beyond fantastic on this, and again, you can also take note to how the fur really becomes quite scruffy the further back into the neck you go. And again, we have the ear sculpted out right there, which you can see. Moving along the underside of our Doedicurus, we can see some kind of scruffier fur there leading down through the throat, and definitely some really impressive fur leading into like the front leg and the shoulder area, kind of up under our little shell that we've got going on, but also much finer texturing as we lead down into the underbelly of our Doedicurus. We've also got the feet sculpted quite impressively, which we can see. Again, like the undersides of the feet are nicely done. We also have fur kind of leading down through the course of the legs down into the feet. We see a nice walking motion for our Doedicurus here, as well as we can see this foot kind of picking up off of the ground as the animal is walking along. We've got the other feet kind of planted, but also kind of showing the movement and again the walking motion that we have occurring currently. We've got more, kind of scruffy fur back here on the back leg leading down, and then basically around the knee area, it seems like it starts to kind of taper away into a much finer fur. We can see the toes and everything, and the nails. The nails do have a nice, genuine, sharp look to them. Everything looks great when it comes to the fine detail of this figure. Same deal, if you look over here, you can get a nice visual on the fur and everything, and how nice the legs and everything look, as well as the toes, and of course again the nails. It all looks really, really nice. As we move up into the shell of our Doedicurus, we can see that as well is excellent. The detail is so nicely done. We've got a bit of variation to the different sizes of the texturing here on the shell, and as we move up and around, we've got more impressive detail pretty much everywhere you look. And even when it comes to each of the individual areas, like when you get nice and close, you can really see how highly detailed it is. It is super, super impressive. I tried to add a good bit of variation of color to it, but doing that without making it overly flashy or anything, because I definitely wouldn't expect something like this to be super colorful. But as you lead back here into the tail, we can obviously see that classic Doedicurus tail as we lead out. Again, I tried to add quite a bit of variation of color, and I also tried to really show off how nice the fine detail is for the figure leading along, and I feel like I achieved that fairly nicely. We have a little bit of a bend to the tail as you lead out, and then once we get out here into the tail, we can obviously see that tail is maybe one of the most intimidating areas of any creature that you'll ever see, as it has all these sort of spikes and stuff out here. And as you look at the spikes, you can see the fine detail, again, unmatched out here. Like the cracks and crevices and just the minute details to that area are so impressive. If my camera would focus, you can see, again, are so impressive in this area. Look at how next level realistic that all looks. It is fantastic from every angle. Even here on the underside, you can see it looks so unbelievably nice. But definitely a really, really nicely sculpted Doedicurus, and I would absolutely say the nicest looking version that I have in my collection. It does also come with a base, and we can see the base is basically just a nice little earthy area. There are some stones here and there. You can see some larger ones over in that area. You'll see all sorts of cracks and crevices to the, earthy area. It basically looks like really dried up dirt, kind of all cracked and kind of crusty as you move through. We can see the footprints for the Doedicurus over here, basically where you would want to apply your figure so it's standing. But it is a really nice base. There's not a whole lot to it, but you wouldn't really expect there to be. And again, I also painted this, so hopefully it turned out pretty nice and looks fairly realistic. I was happy with it, but it is an incredible prehistoric mammal yet again from Passion Charger. As far as a size goes, it is fairly small. It's not gigantic by any means. For a length, you are looking at about, I'd say, roughly in a little over 4.5 inches, heading toward 4 3/4, but not quite there, or around 12 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point is definitely the back of our Doedicurus, and you were looking at a little over 2 inches or heading toward 5.5 centimeters, but not quite there. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our Passion Charger Doedicurus, and we can see that it's not a huge model by any means. You can, of course, purchase this in 2 different size ranges. This would be the smaller size range of the 2, so you can get a larger version as well, but obviously it's a fairly small model as a whole. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to Doedicurus, I think the only other figure I have of this species is probably the Collect A version, which is actually a good bit larger. Like, that's a fairly big figure in comparison. So I don't feel like there's really a need for me to dig that one out, because it would just show you that this one is a lot smaller than that. So I brought in the Invicta Glyptodon, and we can see with that figure, it's kind of close in size, with the Doedicurus being a little bit larger. But unfortunately, again, like I said, I don't have very many figures for this species, or actually this is only the second that I can recall, so I don't have much at all, and don't really have any others to compare well with it, so we'll just compare some random stuff. And obviously we need to bring in some smaller figures here to kind of compare well with it. Here we have the Schleich Diabloceratops, which isn't a huge figure, but it's not tiny, but you can very clearly see is a little bit bigger than our Doedicurus. We also have the Howlong Good Styracosaurus, which you can see here again is kind of similar in size. And if we bring in the Spinoceratops from the Paleo Revived line, you can see as well, again, kind of similar in size, maybe just a little bit bigger. We've also got the TNG Smilodon, which is definitely a little bit bigger. We also have the TNG Megacerops here, which you can see is a little bit bigger. And then one final figure here with the Howlong Good Diabloceratops, which we can see again, kind of similar in size. So this Passion Charger Doedicurus is absolutely gorgeous. I love everything they produce, I really do, but I get overly excited for their prehistoric mammals because there's just something that I'm just such a huge fan of when it comes to prehistoric mammals, and it's only getting worse the older I get, the more and more interested in them I am, and the bigger fan I become of prehistoric mammals. I just absolutely adore everything about them, and I feel like there's never nearly enough attention on them, and specifically this one with such a unique look, you would think there would be so many figures out for it, but there really isn't. So once Doedicurus finally got its due with Passion Charger, I was all in and so happy to now have it here, and again to be able to add it to my collection and have a really good, very high quality Doedicurus, which the Collect A one is pretty darn nice as well, but this one in my opinion is even better than the Collect A version. And I also of course love the fact that you get a base with this, which is something you usually get when it comes to Passion Charger, but sculpt wise this thing is excellent. It has extremely impressive vibrant detail throughout, and every ounce of detail, as you always find for Passion Charger, that you would expect to see. It's got a nice natural pose, and again there's not really a whole lot you can do when it comes to a Doedicurus as far as dynamic poses, I feel like, but they did a pretty good job of coming up with a nice walking pose and a nice turn to the head and the tail and everything, where it has a little bit of life to it. It isn't just a stagnant model. It's not in just like like some sort of a boring neutral position or anything like that. Like, it does look really cool, even with the kind of restrictions on coming up with an exciting pose. I think they did about as great of a job as you can when it comes to coming up with a pose that kind of creates more interest in the model itself. So overall, I think that looks really quite nice. And of course, the paint apps were done by me. This is a model kit. Once it arrives, it would be, unbuilt and unpainted, so you would have to put it together and build it and paint it and everything. And in my opinion, that's always half the fun. I feel like it's always such a fun experience kind of coming up with an idea as far as what you want to do with it and kind of making it partly, your own, even though you're not the one that actually sculpted it or anything. But once you put it together, once you create an idea in your head for the color scheme and you add it to it and it just comes to life, it's so much fun, such a fulfilling feeling. Hopefully you guys like the way mine turned out, and again, the overall color scheme and everything that I went with. But again, if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to Passion Charger on Facebook, where you can contact them and inquire further about purchasing. And of course, if you do not have social media, you can contact me and I will contact them for you to help you get an order in. So definitely do that. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.